Let us welcome the seventh speaker. The seventh speaker is Miss Ayaka Sugimoto. Her speech title is Not Just Fiction, the Power of Storytelling. Not Just Fiction, the Power of Storytelling. So Miss Sugimoto, please come up to the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, honorable judges, questioner, timekeeper. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
It's just fiction. Why do you care so much? I have heard these words said to me more times than I can count in my short lifetime. As a longtime nerd of all things fictional, from books to movies to TV shows, I have had many friends who did not understand why I cared so much for people that didn't even exist and stories that weren't even true. Back then, I could only shrug because, frankly, that was a question I always asked myself too. Why did I care so much about the world of make-believe? Well, now I am somewhat more grown up, and I now know why stories matter so much. Not only to me, but to society as a whole. So why do we even watch movies, TV shows, read books in the first place? Maybe it's purely to be entertained, to laugh, to cry, to get away from reality for a few hours. Or maybe we watch movies for a more profound reason. I believe that we watch movies to find ourselves and be inspired. When we watch movies, we all, in a subconscious part of our minds, look for ourselves within the characters. We are all drawn to the characters that are similar to us because we all want to see ourselves save the world, right? That's probably why, when I was little, I liked stories with nerdy girls as the protagonists. And it's also why I tend to look for the girl in everything, from Princess Leia in Star Wars to Hermione Granger in Harry Potter. Seeing people like ourselves as heroes and heroines becoming successful and saving the world gives us a sense of worth and confidence. As a teenager who is quite insecure about a large portion of myself, it makes me feel less ashamed about myself and less alone. Simply having more diverse roles in stories can change lives. I can say this from personal experience. I remember the time I first watched the movie Wonder Woman. I will never forget the feeling I felt walking out of that movie theater. I felt like I could do anything, like I could lift a tank with my bare hands if I wanted to. And this mattered to me because I had been told so many times that because I was a girl, I was weaker than men, and that because I was a girl, I couldn't be a superhero, and that fighting like a girl somehow equated to being weak. Well, let me tell you that Wonder Woman fights like a girl, and she kind of took down the god of war on her own. When young children look at a movie screen, they see a mirror. However they see themselves reflected there, they will believe that that is how the world views them. If a young girl sees her reflection only as a love interest or a damsel in distress who needs saving, she will think that her only purpose to most of society is to only be a pretty face or a trophy for the superhero to win. There are also children who don't see themselves reflected in that mirror at all. To them, that is a clear message that they're invisible, that they don't matter. For all of these kids, even one movie where they can see themselves as the heroes and the heroines of their own story could turn their entire lives around. It could give them confidence. It could inspire them to strive for higher goals and fulfill their potential. For young people like myself, stories are a source of hope. It is a place where we should be able to find ourselves and feel accepted and secure about who we are. Like this, stories have the power to touch people's hearts and affect them on a personal level. However, on a larger scale, they can affect society as a whole as well. Stories are a means of educating ourselves and society. Having more characters with diverse settings can be a way for us to understand the struggles of sexual, racial, and other minorities and look beyond the prejudice and abolish stereotypes. It could shed light on issues that have been hidden in the shadows and start much-needed conversation. In the world we live in today, prejudice is still rampant, and there is only so much that laws can change. It is much, much harder to change a mindset that has been ingrained into us by society. The only way to change these prejudiced ideas is through storytelling. Alec Baldwin, in his Emmys acceptance speech last year, said, "When you die, you don't remember a bill that Congress passed, or a decision that the Supreme Court made, or an address made by the president. You remember a song, you remember a line from a movie, you remember a play, you remember a book, a painting, a poem. Like this, art has the power to stick in our heads stubbornly for years to come, no matter how hard we resist it. That is why stories have the ability to make such an impact on us." Ever since I was little, I have had a multitude of dreams. It's changed from wanting to be a novelist to a playwright to a movie director to a screenwriter and so on, but one thing has never changed since kindergarten. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to tell stories that could change lives, like the ones I read as a little kid did for me. So here's my response to those people who said, "It's just fiction. Why do you care so much?" It's not just fiction. It's not just anything. It matters. It matters to me. It matters to all of you. It matters to the little kids out there who need good role models. So tell those stories. Tell the stories that matter. Tell the stories of the strong girls and the vulnerable boys, the stories of the people who have been ignored for so long. And as an audience, we should listen. Listen to these voices that have been unheard for too long. We can take a step toward a better world, one story at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sugimoto. Now, we have a question and answer session. Ms. Fukushima, please.
Thank you, Sugimoto-san, for your speech.
Thank you.
Now,
Yes.
you wanted to be a novelist, a playwright, a movie director, a screenwriter.
Yep.
What do you want to be now?
Well, I guess that's kind of a question I don't really want to answer because I'm at that age where I don't really want to think about the future. But the point is that what I want to do, what I know I want to do, is that I want to tell stories. And because stories, when I was little, changed my life, and I wanted to do that for other people. So although I'm not sure exactly about what I want to be, there are certain things that I do want to do, although I don't know in which job I'll be doing.
Okay, I was like that when I was right. And so, in your stories,
Yes.
what will be your characters be like? What would be a good role model for your characters?
I think, well, right now I only kind of write as like a hobby, but I think that I would want to write characters that are well written, because it's not necessarily, people say things like we should write more strong female characters, and I think, of course, that is important, but I think what's more important is to write complex characters who are human. So not necessarily like really strong, independent female characters. Although those are very admirable, I think I would want to write human characters who are, I guess, have their flaws and aren't necessarily perfect, but they're strong in their own ways and have like complex story arcs and interesting characteristics. And I don't know if you're asking me if you like what sort of minority I want to like.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I think, well, if you're talking about like a specific group of people that I want to write about, I would say I would want to write about, well, I often write about teenage girls, first of all, because I am one. But I think I would want to write about, well, as an Asian female, I think I would want to write more about Asian females because, well, you don't really see many, I guess, like big Hollywood films that star like complex, well-written, strong Asian female characters. And I think that would be the sort of people I would want to write in my stories.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Fukushima and Ms. Sugimoto. Please go back to your seat.